Our second show of our season. My name is David Ledoux. I'm the director of the theater program, and welcome. I'm very excited because this is our second show of our season, and our first show was an evening with Edgar Allan Poe, and it was a sold-out run. We had to add shows, and now, as you can see, we are bursting at the seams here with people. This was our second sold-out run. So I'm hoping that we can fill that theater over there when we do Our Town, and we have to open up the balcony, and we're just bursting at the seams in the big theater for our main stage show. So please come, tell your friends about Our Town in just a couple of months. That's going to be April 8th and 9th. And auditions are next week. So if you're interested in being in a show, participating in the work that we do here, it is open to everybody. Theater students, non-theater students, people from the community. We welcome everybody to come and participate in our theater program here. We have a lot of really exciting things happening. We have a lot of classes. We have classes that we offer as electives, humanity electives. Theater is a really positive, powerful way to learn in a lot of different ways. We have a theater major with some really great articulation agreements. So if you are somebody who was maybe thinking about being a theater major, or you know somebody, then please send them here. This is we're trying to create a really special, great place where professional training can happen. We have some really great articulation agreements. We're working out an articulation agreement with UMass Dartmouth. They're creating a theater program, and I'm helping kind of architect that, so there'll be a seamless transition to a bachelor's in theater. We have an articulation agreement with Rhode Island College. We're a mass transfer school, so we have a lot of great things going on there. We have a dual enrollment program. We want to get high school students to come and participate. Serious high school seniors come here and finish off their last year of high school while taking college classes, a full-time load of college classes. And they can kill two birds with one stone. So please continue to participate as an audience, student, actor, designer. Spread the word. We're doing a lot of really great things here. This play, I'm very happy to say, was directed by not myself, but a wonderful local theater director named Don Mays, who is standing in also as a guest visual artist. It's been wonderful to collaborate with him and have him come and share his talents with our students here. This is a challenging play. It's a challenging play stylistically. It's a challenging play in terms of the subject matter that it deals with. It's a difficult conversation. It's a hard conversation to have, but if what we do here means anything, if theater means anything, then we have to tackle those problems. We should be a part of the hard conversations in our society. So I thank you for being here and being a part of that conversation. Other quick things. We have a table out there that is dedicated to our one book, The Hate You Give. So if you're curious about that, then you can stop over there and look at some of our material. If the actors during the show, if the actors interact with you, feel free to interact with them. If they want to play, then play with them, you know? If they want to interact, you can interact with them. That is fine. Don't feel constricted here. This is an open space for you. If anybody is allergic to sage, there is a moment where some sage will be burned briefly. So if anybody is allergic to sage, please raise your hand and we will not burn it. Don't worry, you won't be ruining the show. Anybody? Raise it up. No? Okay, so there will be some sage. That's everything, right? That's
Yep.
Everything. Okay, we're ready to see some good theater. All right. Welcome and enjoy the show.
In the mud of the great Mississippi
I am trees.
I am that Missouri soil. A good Memphis.
I'm Shane Watson. I am kicked in the face in the splash. Frozen in a place by institutional racism.
I am you.
I am the mixtape. I am you. Imani! So good to see you.
Hi, Brad.
Welcome to Battleground, where we tackle the hard-hitting issues from across the aisle. I'm your host, Marcus Robertson. We are here live in Ferguson, where the death of an unarmed teenager yesterday by a police officer has caused civil unrest in this sleepy Missouri suburb. We are joined by two of our country's foremost minds on race, Imani Duncan Ward and Brad O'Connor. Brad, let's start with you. What's going on here? Why are these folks so angry?
Marcus, this case could not be any more black and white. An unnamed white police officer was forced to shoot Mike Brown, an underage 18-year-old black man, in a tragic case here in Ferguson, Missouri. Clearly, Brown was behaving in a way that made the officer feel threatened and required deadly force.
Hold on, Brad. Several eyewitnesses have reported that the officer that shot Mike Brown did so in cold blood as he fled with his hands up. Let us not forget that Mike Brown was scheduled to start college tomorrow, so it's highly unlikely that he would instigate a lethal interaction with a police officer with college on the horizon.
Let's stick to the facts here, Imani. What we know is that after a routine stop took a wrong turn, the officer was forced to pursue the 6'4", 280-pound Brown. At some point, Brown turned around and began charging the public servant who was forced to defend his life. According to police reports, Brown was so angry, he looked like a demon.
Those are not facts. What we do know is that this teen was often called a gentle giant by friends and family. Mike Brown was unarmed, and yet he was shot 6 times by the officer within 2 minutes of the officer arriving on the scene. Adding insult to injury, his body laid in the street for hours in what some are describing as a public lynching.
Really? All right, that is an insult to your ancestors who were the victims of actual lynchings.
I hate to interrupt you two, but that's all we have time for today, for this segment. Stay tuned to Battleground as we bring you more coverage on this explosive event.
And we're clear. Great stuff, you two. The views are clicking in.
What the hell was that?
What are you talking about?
Overly aggressive, an insult to my ancestors?
It's a debate, Imani.
Yeah, but I was expecting intellectual honesty.
Look, I'm here to get paid, just like you.
I'm not here for money. I'm here because when I see that boy, I see family.
Family. Imani, I know your family. Play golf with your brother. 3 generations of Ivy League education. That is a far cry from Ferguson.
Oh, please, Brad. One invite to a charity golfing event with my Republican uncle does not mean we're besties, okay?
Pardon me. And we're back in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back to Battleground. We're here in Ferguson, where several people are saying that police response is making things worse following the death of an unarmed teenager. Thoughts?
Well,
The Ferguson Police Department has and will continue to serve their community by following protocol. And they've stayed on scene all afternoon just to prevent a mob from forming.
what you see as a mob are actually mourners, including his mother and father. And there is no doubt that the situation has only escalated due to a hostile showing from the police.
Those officers are just doing their jobs to maintain law and order.
But tanks? Assault rifles? Why do the cops even have tanks? If their job is to protect American citizens, why do they need weapons of war?
Just in the past few hours, we have seen this crowd swell. Why do you think so many people have come out for this?
Clearly, what we're witnessing is outrage at a systemic problem that dates back hundreds of years in this country.
A systemic problem. Come on, Imani. Clearly, this is an isolated event that the race baiters are running with.
The amount of protesters alone shows that clearly this is not an isolated
I
event.
hate to interrupt you, but that's all we have time for today. Tune in next time to Battleground as we bring you more from across the lines of fire.
And we're clear. That was amazing. We had over 8 million people on the live stream alone. Moving forward with a special on the story.
Special? I mean, I'm happy to collect that special paycheck, but this story's gonna blow over in 2 days tops. Mark my words, no one's gonna care about this kid's death in a week.
The network thinks there's something different here, and I've got good news for you. Your next interviews are ready to go.
Are you kidding me?
Nope, they're already here.
Dr. John Wright, a native of St. Louis, Fulbright Scholar, former assistant superintendent at Ferguson Florissant School District, and author of Discovering African American St. Louis.
Jeff Smith,
Jeff
also a
Smith.
St. Louis native, former Democratic member of the Missouri State Senate, co-founder of the Confluence Academies in Northern St. Louis, and author of Mr. Smith Goes to Prison.
Do I mind if you record this? No, not at all. I don't say anything. I don't want the FBI to hear. The rioting in Ferguson happened because you have to understand there are two different Fergusons. There is the white Ferguson, which was built up where the railroad is, and the black Ferguson, which was built after World War II.
Basically, you've got 90 municipalities in an area of 1 million people. That's 11,000 people per town.
Most of the communities, they were all fleeing. After the war, they were all of them. All little communities in North County were formed after the 40s and in the 60s.
If you're a town of that size, it costs a huge financial... So, you've got a lot of these towns in 20, 30, 40% of their annual income. Their whole budget is strictly coming from pulling people over.
Never officially changed. Never. No, Ferguson, that's still a sundown town. That means if you're black, you need to be out by sundown. Or else you get harassed. You get tickets. You get this feeling. If I'm here at this time, I got problems. You never officially. You could say, we don't do that anymore. Blacks are free to come and go. But you know, if you're in certain parts, you're gonna get stopped.
60 of these 90 towns have their own public safety apparatus, which means it's expensive to have a police department, fire department, and municipal court.
This town has never had more than 310,000 people, but back then, we had 900,000.
You got an overwhelmingly white police force because whites are still in charge of the power structure in most of these towns, and yet you have a population that's disproportionately black and young. And who is funding that government? Young black people. The only interaction they have with the government from when they're 15 to when they're 30 is getting pulled over and feeling like they're being harassed.
Harassment. It's just a little retainer.
I can take that from you, thank you.
In a press conference, St. Louis County Police Chief John Delmar still refused to tell the press the name of the police officer and added that he has been put on paid leave and will likely return to active duty. Thoughts?
I have no doubt that St. Louis County will use its best judgment in this situation. I mean, we can't forget that that police officer's life was also ruined on that day. His department has a right to protect him.
The police department is supposed to protect its citizens and uphold the law. A murder happened here and no one is being held accountable.
This was hardly a murder. That officer was following protocol, and this community clearly has no respect for the law. Just last night, local hoodlums burned down the Quick Trip gas station and started looting local businesses.
That only happened because a group of peaceful protesters were forced to leave a meeting of solidarity. And then they were attacked with stun grenades, tear gas, and shot with rubber bullets.
The police were forced to use these tactics after being attacked with bricks, rocks, and Molotov cocktails.
Oh, please. Even U.S. military officials are expressing outrage at tactics of war being used on grieving Americans by those sworn to protect and serve them.
More on this growing story when we return.
And we're clear.
See what we got. An Indian. Daughter Feather.
Brad, she's Native American first people indigenous.
Call her what you want, but I still don't get what she has to do with this kid getting shot.
I know. Why don't you listen and find out?
Spirit in the wind, carry me home. Spirit in the wind. carry me home to myself. I think location is part of it, but St. Louis has long-standing old families, old money, add a mob component to that. There was a large mob component in the 20s, 30s, 40s, and some of that system is still there. I'll go totally old school. This place was built on the graves of Native people. They took down mounds to put up St. Louis City, and it was built on some bad things. So it's easy to attract that negative if you build a foundation on graves. And that might not be the practical thing to look at when you're talking about why is this place so weird? It's also something that was here before. And I think we carry some of that. What was done to the mounds and to some of the people? Slaves were sold on the courthouse steps. And every time I walk on those steps, I pray for my ancestors and say, you must have been very strong to go through that. Keep watching after me. Generations of blacks have been here before, and they've developed an indigeneity with the land over time. I can't negate the rage that is within the black culture and say that you shouldn't feel that anymore. It isn't just today's rage. How can you ask someone who has within them all the adrenaline and pulsation within their blood, which engages their genetic and cellular memory? 300 years of rage is awakened, and people don't understand why it escalated so quickly. It started 300 years ago, and they have a right to that. But we didn't do that. Okay, you didn't do that. But you're still operating in a system that perpetuates that. How can you dare say they don't have a right to their rage?
They don't have a right to their rage, especially when that rage destroys towns and communities. It's not my fault that blacks were slaves 300 years ago. I didn't do it, so get over it.
How can we get over it when those same systems from 400 years ago affect us now? Can you honestly say that slavery has had no impact on today?
That's not what I'm saying, but if you don't like the system, then change the system. It does not give you the right to burn down a gas station.
Change the system how? These are folks who have been historically blocked from resources and access. And they totally have a right to their rage. An unarmed boy laid in the street for 4.5 hours.
Maybe they have a right to their rage, but to act on it and harm other people, that doesn't do any good.
Mike Brown was shot for walking down the street. The black response to that wasn't to kill people, but to burn down a gas station. White folks are lucky that that rage was directed towards a building and that the rioters didn't seek blood for blood.
As you can plainly see from the security footage, Mike Brown was a thug and a thief. He pushes the store clerk and takes the cigarillos without even paying.
After the release of this obvious character attack of a video, the Ferguson PD have finally released the name of the police officer. We now know it was Mike Brown who was shot by Darren Wilson days ago.
Officer Wilson stopped Mike Brown on CanField Drive shortly after his attack of the police officer.
Tell the truth, Brad. Officer Wilson was not responding to the incident at the convenience store. His run-in with Brown was purely coincidental. Whatever occurred at that convenience store had nothing to do with what happened on CanField Drive. And take a look at this new footage. This footage shows Mike Brown entering the convenience store shortly after 1 a.m. on the day he died. He approaches the counter and hands over an item that appears to be a small bag. He then takes a shopping sack filled with cigarillos and we see him head towards the exit. He turns back around, goes back to the counter, slides the bag back across, and takes a stack of cigarillos before exiting. All of this provides new questions as to whether or not Mike Brown was stealing the cigarillos or simply returning to the store to retrieve them.
Didn't tell me about that video.
Oh, I didn't? There's a second video. The police conveniently left that part out.
Look, I don't like surprises, Amani. If you have new information, I need to know before we go on the air.
No. I don't owe you that. And you don't know that he was stealing those cigarillos. You shouldn't have said that.
It's in the video. And the store clerk called the police because he was stealing.
Videos and store owners can lie. The police released that video to create a distraction from the release of that officer's name. And for all the white people who want to believe in the myth of the angry black man and his superhuman strength.
Not all white people think that.
Okay. Not all white people, but most. It's what they've been told.
I don't believe that myth.
Yes, you do! You were on the ground for all of 15 minutes before you were calling that child overly aggressive. You let your bias speak before you had the facts.
I spoke based on the facts that I had access to, so don't call me biased.
But you are.
Jenny Coons, artist and activist. Definition: implicit biases are attitudes or stereotypes that affect our decision-making on an unconscious level. A fairly common example of this is seen in studies where white people will frequently associate criminality with black people without even realizing they're doing it. For white Americans, there's no way not to be racist. You are steeped in, well, we are steeped in a racist culture, and it's an active process to try to undo it. And even when you think you've unwrapped the knot that's part of your own bias within you, it never goes away.
I'm not talking about implicit bias, and that's ridiculous. Of course, there are white people out there who aren't racist. I mean, I'm not a racist.
Yes, you are!
How can you say that?
All white people are racist.
Then all black people are racist too.
Oh, please, Brad, I know y'all don't like that word, but every white person has racist beliefs, whether they mean to or not.
Money, what are you talking about? In college, you only dated white guys.
That's how I know how racist y'all really are. The things I heard from being around those families could fill a book.
So because of a few insensitive relatives, we're all a problem. When did you become this crazy person?
Me? You've become an earpiece for the right's bullshit. Nothing you say on air makes any sense.
Yes, they do. You want to berate me, but at least what I have to say on the air is factual. All your arguments, they're all based on emotions.
I am emotional because we are dying. You know what? I'm not feeling so good today, and I am not going to do this with you. Look at this shit. I'm not interviewing her.
I Heart Ferguson store employee.
Yeah, when they say I Heart Ferguson, they mean I Heart Ferguson the way it is, with its thinly veiled racism and denial. It's like saying you're colorblind. Not today. I'll meet you back at the hotel.
Money, you can't just leave.
Almost every house here had an I Heart Ferguson sign, and it's a small community. The black people, the multi-race couples. Oh my, the multi-race couples! We've always been a multi-race community, multi-race by choice. We are diverse by choice. We started as a yard sign after the first riot, and it morphed into a store. We're all volunteer, but we're 501c3, so all our money is donated back to the community. We've donated over $140,000.
And were you here for the riots?
Yeah, the first riots. 200 people were arrested. Only 7 of them were from St. Louis, and the rest were from 30 different states. Darren Wilson. Garrett. Look, it was the first police killing in the history of Ferguson. It shouldn't have happened, but it happened. We plan on 4th of July of next year, buying Legos for kids, and then a Unity weekend for the first anniversary of the incident. The incident, I should call it. We'll fill backpacks and donate them. Clowns and face painting.
And Mike Brown's family, have you had any communication? Have you tried reaching out?
No. They... yes. They're different. Let's put it that way.
What do you mean by they're different?
A lot of people in the beginning thought we were against black people or something. What's the problem with saying, I heart Ferguson?
This hotel's got everything. Oh, we got everything. We got omelets, peppers, cheese, bacon, ham, fruit, pancakes, coffee, tea, you name it.
Y'all have biscuits?
Now, why you want to do me like that? How you gonna bring up the one thing we don't have?
What's your name?
Scooby.
Where are you from?
St. Louis, but my people are from Arkansas.
And when did y'all come up here?
A long time ago.
Oh, y'all came up in the Great Migration?
Oh yes, it was the best migration. Hallelujah. Now, what's this TV show about?
It's about Ferguson.
Oh. Yeah, I don't think I could be in a show like that. I was shot by the police this March, and the bullet's still in me. And they wanted me to do a TV commercial about police violence. And I wanted to be acting. But there was no acting. They got it all, the crying, the tears, all of it. So you see, I've been on TV before. And when I was 17, I was performing in the jazz choir.
Oh, so you can sing.
Yeah, a little. I'm gonna sing something in another language. I need my accompanist. Right this way.
Good morning. Welcome to CanField Green Apartments. How can I help you?
Is this the apartment complex where Mike Brown was shot?
We can't do interviews.
Would you be willing to answer questions on the record about the neighborhood?
I told you, we can't do interviews.
Okay, I'll go on your website.
CanField Green Apartments, our residents are our top priority. And with the new multi-million-dollar renovation now complete, you'll enjoy energy-efficient windows, thermal siding, additional lighting, and more. Professionally landscaped grounds, additional parking, and our new outdoor resident recreation area are just a few of the updates you'll appreciate as you enter the community.
Worst place ever! Super dangerous, shooting and fighting and drug dealing everywhere. Even the security guard is unsafe. Never move here. This is a bad, bad place. They are rude and the cops stay around there. 1 star.
Blue lives matter! Blue lives matter! Blue lives matter!
Hands up, don't shoot!
Hands
up, don't shoot!
lives matter!
Hands up, don't shoot!
lives
Hands up, don't shoot!
lives matter!
Hands up, don't shoot!
lives matter!
Hands up, don't shoot!
matter!
Hands up, don't shoot! 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 Hands up, don't shoot!
This is Battleground, the only show that brings you both sides of the story. We're here live on CanField Drive, where a slate of citywide protests called Ferguson October is coming to an end.
Finally, this city has been besieged by outside agitators who come from around the world just to block traffic and interrupt sporting events. I mean, what do the Rams have to do
Darren
with
Wilson
any
is
of this?
innocent.
Leave good people alone who are just trying to enjoy a simple football game.
I think local activist Corey Russell said it best.
Martin Luther King was an outside agitator.
Sometimes you need support from afar to enact real systemic change.
There is no systemic issue here, and so many people are profiting off making folks think there is one. All those clergy members that showed up, Al Sharpton, Cornel West, they only make money when there's racial strife. So, of course, they want to continue to stoke the flames.
The audacity of what you said aside, do you really think that the thousands of people who have traveled from as far as Palestine to stand in solidarity with the people of Ferguson did so because of Al Sharpton? All respect to the Reverend, but he is not the voice of this movement. It is being led by the young people of Missouri who know firsthand how the system continues to fail them.
This is just more of the grievance politics that are tearing this country apart. What happened in Ferguson does not warrant any of this. The grand jury issued a verdict on Monday not to indict the Ferguson police officer who shot and killed Mike Brown.
And that's why we are marching. The fact that charges won't be brought against Darren Wilson is reprehensible. It is an outrage that he won't even go to court.
America is a country of law and order, okay? We have rules for a reason. The grand jury has spoken and people need to accept it. You can't just go start burning down buildings if you don't like the way things are.
That's literally how this country was started. A group of folks decided to buck the system and waged an all-out war until we formed this democracy.
You cannot compare the American Revolution to this. What we are seeing are clearly paid protesters here. They have no grounds for their argument, and the scope of violence is insane. Following the grand jury's announcement, we saw at least 80 arrests as protesters fired more than 100 gunshots, looted and burned as many as 25 buildings, and vandalized police cars.
That only happened because the county prosecutor decided to make his announcement after dark, and law enforcement's continued militarized reaction to the uprisings. There are protests happening in all 50 states. There is a problem!
We're almost out of time, but we'll close with these words. Brown family attorney Benjamin Crump stated that we condemn the violence of last night, and we condemn the violence of August 9. Michael Brown's parents stated that we are profoundly disappointed that the killer of our child will not face the consequences for his actions. Stay tuned to Battleground for up-to-the-minute information.
Oh yes, wait a minute, Mr. Postman. Hey, Mr. Postman.
Excuse me,
What's going on?
how long have you been doing this mail route?
I'm from Kinloch.
Kinloch, one of the oldest black towns in the nation, and it's right next to Ferguson. Dr. John A. Wright, board member, Regional Arts Commission, and author of Kinloch, Missouri's first black city. Back in the day, Ferguson actually put a chain across the main road to keep black folks out of Kinloch.
I live on this route, but I've been on this route since October 1st, okay? What you want to know?
Have you ever felt in danger in this neighborhood?
Yes. And I shouldn't be telling you this, but you know what? I keep something for him, baby. In my pockets. I keep something for him. I don't play around here.
Well, since you live out here, how are you emotionally affected by the death of Mike Brown?
I was emotionally affected because it was just sad. It was extremely sad because I have boys. But you know what? You are a product of how you were raised. I can't say environment. It's all about choices, you know what I'm saying? I could go on and on and on, you know what I'm saying? You are a product of how you were raised. I hope something happens to where it turns around. I just don't know how.
Lots of Ferguson residents report being pulled over for driving while black. Do you face that, and what do you tell your children?
One of my boys is in college. My other boy sells cars.
And they made it through here without being bothered by police or anything?
Mm-hmm. I coached them. When I got my 23-year-old son a car, I said, draw less attention as possible. You just gotta know what to do.
Thank you for taking time in the cold.
And you be careful out here. There's a lot of stray dogs around here, so you really should be carrying some mace if you're gonna be out here.
Thank you.
That chain didn't come down until 1968, when Kinloch residents protested after Dr. King's assassination.
I was emotionally affected because it was just sad. It was extremely sad because I have boys. But you know what? You are a product of how you were raised.
Where are y'all finding these black people?
What are you mad about now? That was a good interview.
Her saying that Mike Brown's murder is a reflection of his upbringing, that his killing is because of the way he was raised?
It's not what she said. She did not say that he died because of his upbringing. She said he was a product of his upbringing.
Every time I call home to tell my family about another black person being killed by the cops, they're always so quick to say, well, what was he doing? As if there's some sort of behavior that justifies being unarmed and shot. It's gotta be this hangover from slavery that's brainwashed black people into thinking Well, if I just raise my children to be quiet, calm, and respectful, I can protect them.
That's not what she said. All she did was make a good point about the importance of raising your kids right.
You can miss me with those respectability politics, okay? Because it happens to everybody. Even Henry Louis Gates. Doesn't matter how many degrees you have, how much money you have. If you are black, it can and will happen to you.
So you don't think upbringing has anything to do with it?
Fine. Yes, I think that upbringing affects who you become, but the injustice that we're facing is much larger than that. The police shot and killed 7-year-old Ayanna Stanley Jones in her bed while she was sleeping. What could that baby have done to have avoided that?
I don't know.
Out there! Right, man! Come on, it's been hours. Can you at least put a sheet over?
He's just a child!
Yeah,
Really? What if that was your
really?
child? Would you leave him? Would you leave him out in the open in the street for 4 hours?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Y'all are disrespecting us as a people. Tired of y'all killing our babies. This justice system, it's a mockery. Using all your fancy words, all your degrees, all your intellectual words. Well, fix it! Fix it! You said you're perplexed why some people hate the police officers. Why some people like the police officers. I was born in the 60s. I'm a 60s baby. We were raised up with the police officers, with Mr. Friendly. Taught that to my kids. What am I supposed to tell my son? My son is not a thug. His pants don't sag so everybody know. When he steps outside his door, they got him and his friends lined up on the damn ground. Excuse my French. Lined up on the ground. They gotta take their socks and shoes off and undress. For what? It is a shame that our babies. Can y'all fathom that? Your baby getting gunned down and be disrespected and laying in the street for 4 hours? And then the man who did it to go on national TV and say I'd do it again.
That's some powerful footage, I must say. Congrats.
You don't have to congratulate me. You need to listen to what she is saying. So many people feel the way she does. Apparently, Miss Taylor just showed up to the Ferguson Commission.
I still don't get all the anger over his body laying in the street for 4 hours. I mean, the shooting happened on a Saturday. The police department and county examiner had a skeleton crew on duty. They've said they wish they could have moved faster, but they were following.
What part do you not understand? Do you know how long it took for his grandmother to convince them to cover his body? And then when they did, the sheet wasn't even big enough to cover him? His blood... I just gotta sit down.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I just didn't eat today.
Well, you gotta eat.
I know I have to eat!
How y'all doing? Hey, step outside.
As a resident of CanField Green, have you ever had an altercation with the police?
There's a lot of crooked police out there. Over here, cuz! Yeah, there's lots of crooked police out there. I've had run-ins with the police all the time. There's no peace, always a mayhem. ruckus. You can barely stand out in the front yard, you know what I'm saying? And we had company, we was getting harassed. Afraid to walk at night. And don't get caught down a dark alley because if a police officer sees you and they don't like you, something just might happen to you. It's just certain ways you gotta go about living life when you're growing up in that situation.
Thank you for taking the time.
All right. My name's Danny.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.
Welcome to Harney's front yard.
Hi, Harney!
Today we're learning a new song.
Yay!
Ain't nobody tell you could say yay. Shut your little bitch asses up.
You're mean, Arnie.
Little nigga, I'm trying to save your life. Now shut up and sing this song.
How am I supposed to sing if you told me to shut up?
Oh God, he's gonna me sing this song before I lose my shit.
When you out on them streets, you need to know just how to be. When you see the cops and they see you too, you got to know just what to do.
They'll whoop your ass for anything. So put away your dignity. Don't fight back or make a fuss. Certainly don't ever cuss. Call them ma'am, call them sir. Show your hands to him or her. First things first, you must survive. Come back home to us alive. All together now.
Call them ma'am, call them sir. Show your hands to him or her. First things first, you must survive. Come back home to us alive. First things first, you must survive. Come back home to us alive.
Now, honey, why would the police want to whoop someone's ass? My mommy said if I'm lost, ask the police for help.
Little homie, the difference is
Arnie,
you.
the police shot Mike, and I saw him dead in the street.
Stop the filming. I can't do this, man. Little white kids get to sing about the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s and shit. And you got these little ass kids singing about getting their ass beat by the police? This baby is 4 years old and she already seen a dead body? It's like we're living in a war zone, man. This shit ain't fair. Okay, listen, kids, listen. Harney, sorry, I didn't mean to upset y'all and cuss y'all out, but it's just this police business is serious, and I want y'all to be prepared for when it pops off, but at the same time, I don't want y'all walking around kowtowing to people, letting people mistreat you because you black. But at the end of the day, if you want to survive in this
Sad news. Yeah. Little boy got shot down today.
Officer Darren Wilson. So, what did you see?
I began yelling, "Stop, get on the ground," giving him the opportunity to stop, and he ignored all commands and just kept running.
And so after he started running again, I shot another series of shots, and at least one of those hit him because I saw the flinch. So he gets 15 feet away, and as he does that, I start backpedaling because he's getting too close and still not stopping. Now it's about 8 to 10 feet. And as he does that, he starts to lean forward like he's going to tackle me. So I look down the barrel of my gun, and I fired. And what I saw was his head, and that's where it went.
You'd never fired your gun before. And now, a man is dead.
After the supervisor had gotten there, I gave him a brief rundown of what had happened. I told him I had to shoot somebody, and he asked me why. I told him he charged me, he tackled me, and he was going to kill me.
And you have a very clean conscience?
The reason my conscience is clean is because I know I did my job right.
It's legal for them to kill us. After they killed my nephew, please don't be on shit now. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Like it's a matter of, man, countless sleepless nights, not eating, not drinking for days. People who never met Mike giving their opinions, death threats, expectations in me. It never stops from when I open my eyes to when I close them. Mike Brown's uncle, Leslie McSpadden. Not to be confused with his mother, Leslie McSpadden, spelled with a Z. I wish people knew how hands-on he was with electronics. My nephew, he would isolate himself, give all his energy. He'd take apart a PlayStation, put it back together with his hands alone. He was very technical, hands-on. I wish people knew that about Mike. Because then they know he was no aggressive kid. He was very timid and loving, to say the least. He had a huge heart. But you know how the media paints this? Fake is what's real nowadays. Fake just run America. This place a joke. First, we gotta start where the root of the problem is. And that's St. Louis. Ferguson is in St. Louis, but St. Louis, that's not in Ferguson. We are the middle of the map. For instance, you know what the national monument is in Seattle? It's a space needle. St. Louis, we got the arch. People be like, unity. It's just a big ass shackle in the sky.
No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No Elizabeth Vega. I remember when the cops started advancing on us with billy clubs and riot gear in the middle of the day. They wanted us to move up onto the sidewalk, and there weren't enough people there who had protested before to help. We urged everyone to get up on the sidewalk, but that wasn't enough. They advanced on us. They wanted us gone.
Black Lives Matter!
Jamal, stop!
My life matters!
Jamal's fan. I'll never forget him. He was so raw.
Just shoot me! They're gonna shoot me anyways! Might as well be for something I believe in!
And I'm scared because I feel like he's about to get beaten. They were after him, so three of us, me, Chan, and Kobe, we surrounded him. I had my hand on his chest. I could feel his heart beating. And we surrounded him as he had tears coming down his face, as he named out the people he knew who had been beaten by the police, the people he knew who had been killed by the police.
Kajim Powell, Von Derek Myers, Kimberly Randall King.
And I've helped people transition to death. I know about grief and mourning. What I saw, that was anguish, not mourning. It was anguish.
Carlos Cruz, Alonzo Ashley, Clarence Coates!
My fellow police officers don't know anything about us. It shows. It shows in how they talk to us. And it shows in how I say they like, I'm not a part of it, but they don't know how to treat us. They don't know how to approach us. But how do you tell a white trying to be politically correct? How do you tell someone of a different race? They don't understand you as a people.
So, when you were in the police academy, there was no cultural sensitivity training?
No. Feel free to bring your car. No, cultural sensitivity? That should be added. But they may not take to it. But that would be something I would like to get across. I feel like they don't understand us as a people. Because not all of us have lived hard lives. But even we as African Americans, we've seen poverty. Or we've been around it, so we understand it. And if you have an understanding about something, then your outlook is a little bit different.
Thank you for taking the time. We'll be right back with more Battleground.
So let me get this straight. That police officer doesn't think that white people understand black people?
That's what he said.
But I'm getting to know you better, and I feel like I'm understanding more what it's like to be black.
You have no idea what it's like to be black.
Then you have no idea what it's like to be white.
Because of our power structures, black folks have to understand white folks in order to survive. But it doesn't work the other way around.
You do realize you're judging people based on the color of their skin, right?
I guess I'm speaking in generalities, but I'm right.
What's the deal, Amani? Nothing's ever enough for you. No matter what I do or say, you always have to be right. Can't you just admit that you black people are just as prejudiced as white people?
Black folks' understanding of white folks is based on historical facts. White folks' understanding of black folks is based on fear and myth.
Working with you is impossible, okay? There is no getting through to you. I've had enough of this.
Oh, how convenient of you as a white man to just check out. Must be nice to have that privilege.
Oh, don't give me that white privilege crap. I grew up poor. My parents grew up poor. There was nothing privileged about my upbringing.
But even as a poor white man, you are afforded more opportunities in this country because of the color of your skin. A white ex-con is more likely to get a job than a black college graduate. So it's not crap, it's the truth.
This is what I'm talking about. No matter what I do or say, it's always white people's fault about something. I mean, can't you just take some responsibility?
Can you? Your people set this up. We didn't ask to be here.
And we're back in 5, 4, 3, 2.
The federal government has called for more police departments to use lapel-mounted body cameras to record their interactions with the public. Thoughts?
This is a great step, but it is just that, a step, not a solution.
Because nothing's ever enough for you. You don't actually care about solutions. You just want to blame white people for all of America's problems. That got your tongue, Amani? You had plenty to say a minute ago off air. Please, share with our viewers how you think all white people have privilege, despite several examples of minorities getting free passes that white folks simply don't get. Please, share with your viewers how you think all white people are white supremacists. People deserve to know what you truly think.
I am not doing this on air.
Can't take the heat? Stay out of the kitchen.
We'll be right back after this word from our sponsors.
Doing good, and you?
plantation. Wait, I'm making the famous St. Louis stew. It is delicious. Now listen, the hardest part of this recipe is gathering all the ingredients. But I can assure you it is worth it. Now, step 1. You're gonna need you some land stolen from the Indians. Now, if you can desecrate it in the process, that'll make it even tastier. Good seasoning. Now, step 2. You're gonna get you a Supreme Court case that declares blacks don't have any constitutional rights and can't even be considered citizens. In the pot. Step 3. Now you're gonna need you a whole bunch of sundown towns and race riots where white folks just beat up on all the coloreds they can find. Rosewood, Florida. Oh, I got you. Thank you.
My favorite, Tyler, Texas.
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yes.
In the pot,
Juicy.
honey. Very good. Now we're gonna go and stir it all up nice and good till there's just a few lumps. Then you beat those.
Just don't want any lumps. Tell you.
Ooh, it smells sweet.
That smells so good.
That's good.
All right, now somebody gets to taste it.
Oh, who's gonna be? Who's gonna be the lucky one?
Ooh, she's one
Wait,
lucky
that's
girl.
good. All righty, y'all. Now, once you got that going, oh, my head, dear Lord. Once you got that going, set it aside. Let it simmer for a little while, thank you. And now, we are gonna need us some exotic medical testing on black communities.
So good.
Oh, look at that. Nice.
Now,
Good.
So good.
steal some Negro babies from their mamas and sell them on the black market while you're at it. Thank you, thank you. 1, 2 babies, 3 babies.
Bye-bye.
Yes, stir it all up in there. Now, you're gonna pour some radioactive chemicals on there.
I think it's that uranium.
Oh,
yes,
yeah, that's true.
uranium. I love uranium. Very good. Now, give it another quick little mix. Set it aside. Let it sit for a minute, and there is your stew, y'all. Alrighty, now, to finish this all off, we're gonna give it a big old dollop of income inequality and a hungry prison industrial machine. Remember to incarcerate, incarcerate, incarcerate.
Right this way, sweetie.
Bye-bye.
Somebody half of the black men are just missing, honey. Now, remember, as best you can, you want to avoid adding in anything if it ain't purely black or white.
She's right.
That's true.
No asulamu bacon. Konnichiwa. Como estas?
Oh,
God
no.
forbid. We know those flavors exist, but we ignore them unless we can put them to work.
That's right.
Now, take all you got, mix it up real good. Oh, this is smelling so good, y'all.
Divine, that's what it is.
Let it simmer
yummy.
for about 400 years, and voila, you got you a St. Louis stew. Y'all enjoy.
All right, now, y'all. Who wants some soup? It's good, it's hot, it's racist. That's what they taught me in my middle school anyway. It's good for you. That's what they said. Oh, from Texas, there you go for the bag. Alabama, right there. You don't need that for the racism. Have a good day.
Don't you ever bring up something I say off air again.
You started the conversation, and I thought it would be good for ratings.
Well, it probably was, but still, you're
And
not.
you're the one who started lumping all the white people together, and I don't think that's fair.
It may not be fair, but it's the truth. We have yet to meet one white person in Ferguson doing anything meaningful. Not one.
Maybe we haven't met the right white person for you.
Because they don't exist. We reached out to the clergy. Nothing. The network reached out to politicians. Crickets. Wherever these good white folks are, they sure are quiet. It's not enough to say, oh, I didn't enslave anyone. What are you doing right now to make sure another Mike Brown doesn't happen again? Where are you spending your money? What are you doing with your
I
time?
could ask you the same questions. When the camera goes down, I don't see you marching through the street, Amani. You're living the same privileged life you're mad at me about. Tell me, what are you doing for black people?
What am I doing for black people? How dare you ask me that?
You're awfully upset, but you're still not answering the question. I don't see you out here mentoring little Keisha and Tyrone and donating all your hard-earned dollars.
What you're not about to do is turn this around on me when that stunt you just pulled was insane.
Fine. Don't answer the question. I see the truth is too much for you. Imani, I am so sorry about what I said on the air.
I don't need your fake apology. And I don't take back any of the things I said. These are complicated truths in America, and while they might not be freaking talking points, they are all true. You are a part of the problem. You are poisoning everyone who listens to you with your willful ignorance. You are poisoning an entire generation of children, including your own. Get your shit together, or your kids are gonna be just as fucked up as you.
Don't do this.
What? What? Don't do what? You do this to these black kids every day. You project a future on a child you know nothing about.
Don't say shit about my kids. Do you hear me? Imani, oh, are you okay? Oh. Let's get you to sit down.
That doesn't surprise me at all. Juliet Icavino, Harvard grad, PhD from WashU in racial health disparities. I'm definitely interested in how racism kind of interferes with people getting quality care. There is research on, evidence, on how, like, black people are less likely to be prescribed narcotics for pain, and this even extends to, like, broken bones. I think white people might view black people as being less vulnerable to pain. And that was clear with that whole Mike Brown case, where there was somehow this idea that he could get shot 5 or 6 or 7 times and still keep coming toward Darren Wilson and not feel that pain and not go down like he was this huge animal that just kept coming for him, and that is a stereotype that I see so often. And I think the less vulnerable to pain or emotions that you view somebody, the less empathy you're gonna have for them.
So when did you find out you were sick?
Who told you? That was supposed to be private information.
Rebecca. I mean, she had to give some explanation for you fainting.
Rebecca shouldn't have said a damn thing. That's an HR issue. I've known for about 6 weeks.
6 weeks? Imani, why didn't you tell me?
Because it's none of your business. We're not friends, Brad.
Come on, we're in this thing together.
Are we?
Well, can you at least tell me what it is? Rebecca wouldn't say.
Stage 1 uterine cancer, which means it's contained.
Jesus! I don't know what to say.
Don't say anything. I don't have time for cancer. Between work and being black in America, I'm not trying to carry another burden.
But you do realize you're gonna have to take time off to deal with this, right?
That's your privilege talking.
It's not privilege.
I can't just up and quit my job.
It's decency and respect.
Worry about yourself.
Look, believe it or not, I care about you.
I'll be fine.
Just do what you need to do to get better.
I have to go, okay? We have work to do.
Everything was going crazy. My mom was calling me, "Oh, Travis, stay safe."
We just moved. All we had were our phones, Twitter, and the internet.
Yeah, according to Twitter, all of St. Louis is supposed to be on fire. But to be honest, I was in school in the Central West End, and you had absolutely no idea.
If anything was going on at all.
Yeah, it's its own little bubble. People walking their dogs. Nobody's worried about anything at the time.
And then the verdict came out. So we went to check it out.
Yeah, we went to this arts.
It was daytime.
Yeah, there was no organized protest at that moment.
We didn't really have a particular place to go. We just saw Ferguson on the map.
I Wikipedia'd the coordinates.
And that's how we ended up in that cute little town. So this is so cute. Where the hell did this happen? So I went on Yelp and I'm looking up ice cream parlors. And so we went to go get ice cream.
Yeah, and we talked to some locals.
And then we went to the park. Oh, it was the cutest park.
Little white boys, black girls, all different races playing.
On the merry-go-round. And everyone was so nice.
But then we drove to CanField, which is so different. You see the Metro PCS, and that's
Right
how
in.
you know you in the
beauty
hood,
supply
right?
store, all the businesses gave it away. And then we saw some of the protests and some of the boarded up places. That's how we know we're in the right place.
You
Because
see this huge memorial. It was crazy to me seeing how much love he got.
But it just seemed like such a normal neighborhood.
You know what's really fucked up? Property means so much more to people than a black person's life. That's why we say Black Lives Matter. Obviously, they don't think so because they value a Walmart more than a person.
I don't like to use the word violence because I think destroying property when someone's life has been taken is not right, but I wouldn't call it violence. I'll call it violence when people are actually hurting other people. But I've studied, done a lot of studies of riots and read the Kerner Commission report more than once. And you just have to understand that people, the system, does not work for them. This is a fact. We can show that the system does not work for them. There was this woman on CNN, might have been MSNBC. She had a flag, and it was during the protests, and she says, "America, stand up for us." I still almost cry every time I think of that, because you think of Katrina, when people are standing on the roofs with the flags, and like black Americans who have been here for as long, if not longer, than any other group of people are constantly having to say, "We are Americans. This is our country. We deserve to be here. We are human beings." I think that's what it is. That's what it comes down to. When people who are told their entire existence they don't belong in the only country they've ever known, a country in which we join the military at higher ranks than any other group of people. We are the only racial group that is overrepresented in the military. You never hear that stat. When people are using our disproportionate involvement in violent crime, it says something about us as a people. Our disproportionate patriotism says nothing. Selective stereotyping. If you look at the reaction to New York City police protests there, it was very different. So the Eric Gardner video comes out, and there's a rally. You don't see militarized police coming out to tamp it down. They let them release steam. It's kind of smart. If you study history of the civil rights movement, right before going into Selma and going into Birmingham, King was marching in Georgia, and the sheriff there, he was very smart. He said, "We're not gonna arrest you. We're not gonna brutalize you. Because if we do that, the media won't pay any attention." And they were right. So right before going into Birmingham and going into Selma, they're like, "We have to go somewhere where the law enforcement is going to brutalize us, because it's the only way we'll get attention." Alabama provided that. Sorry for their bodies, but thank God for the movement. I think Ferguson is the same thing. The way they acted in St. Louis is the same way they acted in the South. That's the reason that it happened.
I know you're asking today, how long will it take? Somebody's asking, how long will prejudice blind the visions of men? I come to say to you this afternoon, however difficult the moment, however frustrating the hour, it will not be long, because truth crusher will rise again. How long? Not long. Because no
Is there a continuum from the civil rights movement to Black Lives Matter?
It is morally dishonest to continue to compare this movement to the works of Dr. Martin Luther King. We know this kid was no martyr.
No one is saying that he was a saint, but he didn't deserve to die.
Dr. King would be ashamed to have his name uttered in the same sentence as Mike Brown. He was no Medgar Evers. He was no Emmett Till. He was a hoodlum. And until the black community can acknowledge the celebrations of criminality and thuggery that lead to situations like this, we can't have this conversation honestly.
You didn't know Mike Brown. Neither did I. But whoever he wasn't created in a vacuum. There are systems in place that lead to people making certain decisions, and that's what we're fighting.
What about all the black lives being killed by other black people in Chicago, huh? The sheer numbers are unspeakable. And you don't ever hear folks rallying against that, do you?
Most white people are murdered by other white people. Almost all mass shooters, white men. But I don't hear the same outrage about the epidemic of white-on-white crime.
But the numbers say that police aren't the ones that black folks need to fear. It's other black people, and no one seems to care about that.
There are countless people working on the senseless violence in black communities. And this topic is completely beside the point. The myth of black-on-black crime was created by racist pundits, such as yourself, to distract from the real conversations at hand. But if you want to go there, let's go there. The notion that black folks are more violent than white folks has been debunked time and time again by science. But we already know that you don't care about actual data. You just care about protecting your power and privilege. Because if you want to have this conversation honestly about the violence in black communities, then we need to talk about the white violence that built this country on stolen native land with stolen African people. The white violence that leads to high schools like Normandy High being underfunded and over-policed. The white violence that leads to towns like Ferguson being redlined, gerrymandered, and over-polluted. Oh, the white violence that leads to an income gap of 6.5 times that in white households. Oh! And what about the white violence that has led to the most unjust prison industrial complex in the world? I am sick of you being willfully blind to the facts. And I am sick of having to explain our humanity to you. If you haven't figured out we're human in 400 years, then I don't know what to tell you.
People know that black folks are human, okay? No one is arguing
You're
that.
not listening to me. People who look like you are killing people who look like me, and I think of it every time I look at you. You could care less if I live or die.
Are you
for
mad
you,
at me?
this is just a paycheck, but for me, this is life or
Okay,
death.
come on, guys,
I'm
let's
mad
get
at
back
all
on
white
track.
people! I'm mad at this insurmountable system. I'm mad that your baby will get to grow up free and mine won't.
Imani, just slow down.
Don't tell me
Take a
what
deep
to
breath.
do! The doctor says I'm not responding to the chemo the way I should be, and I know this is why. I can't do this anymore.
We'll be right back in a
Before
moment.
you go to commercial, let me finish. I wish you all the best here on Battleground. But I have to do what's right for me. I quit.
When the glory comes, it will be ours. It will be ours. Oh.
Turn hot! Caring for myself is not self-indulgence. self-preservation. And that right there is an act of political warfare. The great Audre Lorde. Mark time, mark! I don't know what I've been told.
I don't know what I've been told.
Self-care is good for your soul.
Self-care is good for your soul.
Get your sleep and stay offline.
Get your sleep and stay offline.
Or fear will poison your mind.
Or fear will poison your mind.
Love yourself and your neighbor too.
Love yourself and your neighbor too.
The whole wide world depends on you.
The whole wide world depends on you.
Sound off.
1, 2.
Sound off.
3, 4.
Sound off.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Mayor of Ferguson, James Knowles III. I wanted to make a difference in the community, and I feel like we have done that here. It's definitely not a career. I make $300 a month. But this is my passion. And I will say, when you spend your entire adult life dedicated towards a community, a diverse community, and you create opportunities for people black and white, and then you go and see it all damaged and smeared and blamed, I think that's kind of heartbreaking.
Police Chief of Ferguson, Delrish Moss. One thing I realized when my family come to visit, they say, "That's it? That's not what I saw on TV?" I'm not surprised. But where the conflict comes in is how you get there. And yes, Ferguson is a victim of things maybe Ferguson did, but also the national narrative that is prevailing.
Honestly, any time an event like this happens, it's a horrible tragedy. No matter where you draw the lines of culpability, the human side recognizes the tragedy. It's tragic for the police officer. No matter how people want to go and paint it, I don't think he woke up that day wanting to shoot somebody. Clearly, he's going to have to live with taking a life and the aftermath. People don't realize that there is pain on all sides here.
People come up to me and they say, "The police are horrible." Well, but you're not a bad guy. I don't trust them. I don't like them. But you're different.
No, I don't believe there's purposeful redlining in Ferguson. Most cops, I don't believe majority or most of them are only trying to pull over African Americans.
And when you read my appointment, it says, "Ferguson appoints first black police chief."
If you live in an area where it's 95% African American, it will disproportionately affect African Americans.
Yes, I'm African American, but that's not all that I am.
People need to understand those are the unintended consequences. We are enforcing the law.
But by and large, the conversation is different. And sometimes one bad experience gets multiplied as it gets told.
After all these years, I don't have emails on my desk saying I was driving while black, the cops were picking on me, or I was beaten by an officer. None of this was being brought to our attention. 67% of the city is black, but 90% of our schools are black, so there's more black youth. If no one's complaining about our policing, then we must be doing everything right.
Everything right.
Right?
Imani, I was hoping to catch you before you were gone.
Sorry I didn't say bye. I just wanted to get in here, clean up my desk, and get out.
Can I talk to you off the record, sis?
Sis? Since when did you say sis? You never struck me as the sis type.
Well, we never really got a chance to know one another. There's a lot more going on here than what you see on the air.
That I know for sure. For you and me both. Thank you for taking the time to say bye, Marcus.
Hold on. It hurt my heart to see you go out like that.
Mine too, but you saw what was going down. There's no way for me to work like that. I love us too much to listen to that kind of rhetoric all day.
I love our people just as much as you do, and we both know that this country was designed to destroy us. But we made everything that people call American culture. Jazz, the blues, gospel, hip-hop.
And we know they love our culture, but they don't love us. You see how they're ready to just go to war when we say our lives matter.
All of that is true, sis, but what you focus on grows, and you're giving them all of your attention, and all of that anger is just making them more powerful.
I'm not like you, Marcus. I can't just grin and pretend to get along with these people. There's too much to be angry about.
Of course there is, but there's always going to be another thing to be mad about, and another thing, and another thing.
So when they're killing us in the streets, we shouldn't say anything?
No, but we have to keep fighting back. Put all of our energy into what we're building for our people.
Boy, bye.
You don't have to take my word for it. Your body is telling you the same thing. Cancer? At your age? That's a sign that something isn't right. You need to heal, redirect. A lot of reporters and activists who are bearing witness to this moment in America have ended up with cancer. Sort of makes me feel like
Leaving is the right choice.
maybe it is. Maybe not. Maybe it's a missed opportunity. You have a platform to show people something other than outrage and powerlessness. And we're giving whiteness way too much time with the mic. But put black folks at the center of the narrative, show us how strong we are, how beautiful we are, and see if that don't change the world.
Well, damn, if you have all the good ideas, why don't you start your own show?
Well, you know, I tried, but the execs weren't having it. But with the way your fans are boycotting the network, I'm sure they'll do whatever you want at this point.
Sorry, I wish I could, but I'm done with all of that. Like you said, I need to heal and redirect. Do something different.
This may be the very way to do that. When else are you going to have the attention of millions of people? Just think about it.
From your friends next door, they never told me you might be a star tonight. So let that camera roll. Red, white, and blue, all the funny things you do. America, America, this is you.
America's Funniest Home Videos proudly presents Bone Salute Heads to. Hey, wake up, guys! A salute to Boneheads.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rob Taggart!
Thank you. I didn't expect that response. I'd like to give a special welcome to you all. Tonight is an especially special night because we are bringing you an especially special episode of America's Funniest Home Video! Tonight's special is on boneheads. Now, how do you know if you're a bonehead? Well, you're watching this show, aren't you? Let's have a look at our first video. Musical chairs going, and boom! Right in the picture. So, what exactly is a bonehead? We have Tark from Cop Watch to help explain it to us.
So
Tark, what makes you the leading authority on boneheads?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm a leading authority, but I have some insight into boneheaded behavior. But I want to empower people with the tools and the knowledge that they need to record boneheads.
Okay, and now what exactly is a bonehead?
Well, the purely technical term is a stupid or foolish person.
Uh-oh. It looks like the bonehead count just went up, am I right? Well, can you please show us some of your boneheaded research, Tark?
Sure thing. Here we have Mr. Scott, who got pulled over for a missing brake light.
Okay, what a classic bonehead move there.
And so you see, the officer walks back to his vehicle, and you see Mr. Scott attempt to get out of his vehicle and flee on foot.
Oh boy.
So the police officer shoots Mr. Scott, who was unarmed.
That's hilarious!
No, it's not. Here we have 12-year-old Tamir, who's playing with an airsoft gun in Cleveland in a park.
Wow. I have nothing to say here. Other than bonehead!
It's not illegal for a minor to buy an airsoft gun and play with it in a park.
Oh, Tark! You are killing me with this video of a kid waving a gun in public.
In Cleveland! You're not getting it. The boneheads are the police, not the victims. So the police drive up and they shoot him.
Oh my God! I just can't stop laughing!
Perhaps the biggest bonehead of all was me coming on this show.
Boneheads. Well, that's all we have time for tonight, folks. Tune in next week for another great episode of America's Funniest Home Video!
Hi, everyone. Please join us in a Black Lives Matter meditation. This is a meditation for healing racial trauma. This meditation was written by Dr. Candace Crowell. Please, close your eyes. Notice what is going on in your body. Notice your breath. Rather than change your breath, simply notice it for a moment. Right now, your humanity is not
Right now,
mastered.
you do not have to justify anything to anyone.
Right now, you do not represent your
Right
entire
now, you can be yourself.
Right now,
Black Lives Matter.
Receive the restoration you desire and deserve. Feel your heart, mind, body, and soul receiving healing. Now, silently repeat to yourself, may I be well.
May Black people be well.
May we all be well.
Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. When you're ready, open your eyes.
Imani?
Brad, it's been a while. How you been?
Oh, I've been swell. I mean, minus the backlash of being destroyed by Black Twitter after your rant went viral. Oh, and a 60% decrease in viewership. Things have just been great. How are things going for you?
I've been well. I finished chemo. I've been doing a lot of healing work.
Well, I'm glad to hear you're doing better. And I'm sorry for whatever I did to add to your stress. I know I can't apologize for any of the things I said, but I thought we were just doing our jobs. I really didn't realize how much it was affecting you, so I'm sorry for that.
Okay. I'm calling to let you know that I'm coming back on the show.
Are you joking?
No, I'm not.
It's too late, Imani. I already told the network I'd do one more episode, but...
Listen. Hear me out, Brad. The show is an example of the way the world can work, okay? Two different people with different points of view struggling to find compassion and understanding.
Shows a model of the truth in that case. This country is fucked up beyond repair. I mean, there's no coming back for us.
But listen, I don't know if that's true. And if we walk away now, everyone loses.
I don't get it. All right, what gives? 6 months ago, I was your enemy.
My therapist keeps saying, do you want to heal or do you want to be right?
I don't follow.
We're connected, whether we like it or not. And I'm not saying that I'm taking responsibility for teaching you, but I'm showing up to have the conversation.
So, a few therapy sessions, and I'm supposed to believe you're brand new?
Oh, no. I still very much like calling out white folks for their shit. But I'm trying to show up with vulnerability and make space for you.
I don't know.
Neither do I. But I know we can't tell this story alone. And either way, the network is bringing me back.
The revolution is relationship. I think part of the way this oppressive system is so insidious is that it takes away that which we need most. Trust, vulnerability, the ability to love each other despite our frailties. We live in a system that throws everybody and everything away, and that's what people were fighting against in Ferguson. They executed a teenager and left his body in the street for 4.5 hours in a subdivision. Kids were out. Children saw that. People responded, and to this day, I don't think we know what was different. But people had finally had enough. And we started to find that which we were seeking, which is love and community, and people who can see the world how it can be instead of how it is. But it takes vulnerability and courage and these one-on-one interactions in our daily lives. It's revolutionary. It's love. It's hard. It's accountability.
Months after Mike Brown's killing, the Department of Justice has issued a report that highlights racist practices in America. A major takeaway is that these practices are shaped by revenue rather than public safety needs, and that the disproportionate number of arrests, tickets, and use of force stem from unlawful bias rather than black people committing more crime. Thoughts?
Look, clearly things are not perfect and rosy in America, but we've bent over backwards to try to make these things right. The civil rights movement, affirmative action, all of these are signs that America is trying. Things just move slower than we'd like sometimes, but folks need to learn to be patient.
That's an unacceptable response to someone whose life or family is on the line. If your kid were in danger, you would do whatever it took to make them safe. You wouldn't be content to just be patient.
But this danger in Ferguson is based on a myth. That same DOJ report found that there was no hands up, don't shoot. His hands were down. The whole thing is a lie.
Hands up, don't shoot is a symbol of the movement. Whether or not Mike Brown's hands were in the air when he was shot 6 times is beside the point. The point is, unarmed black people are being killed and there is no accountability in this current system.
I'd say a federal court is plenty of accountability. And you know how many people voted for this black president thinking this would all be over? And it's gotten worse. 10 years ago, we did not have these problems.
These problems are as old as this country. And just because they're out in the open now doesn't mean there's more of them. It means we finally have a chance to make it right.
Stay tuned for Battleground. Thank you both for your insights. And stay tuned for more discussions on race in America.
Rabbi Susan Talv, find your Ferguson. They're everywhere. There's Mike Browns everywhere. God bless Mike Brown. He was a hero, and I've fallen in love with him again. People want to say he was a thug, he was this, he was that. Whatever he was, we made him that way. He was 18 years old, and if he was white, he'd be alive today. Those officers would have given him the benefit of the doubt. Wouldn't have cursed at him, and he would have responded differently, I have no doubt.
Sarah Palin. Shame on our cultural influencers for stirring up contention and division. Shame on pundits and politicians for giving credence to thugs rioting against police officers and the rule of law in the name of peaceful protests. It is a farce.
Black Lives Matter is a farce.
You wouldn't believe the hate that gets spewed from people trying to call him a thug.
Mike Brown is a thug. Hashtag reverse racism.
Just so they don't have to deal with it. But he's dead. And it's ripped off the scab of this festering racism that is our wound.
Do Black Lives Matter? Yes. More than most BLM protesters can grasp, as evidenced by their self-destructive provocateurism. Doesn't it go without saying that Native lives matter too?
And Asian, and Eskimo, and Hispanic, and Indian. Hashtag all lives matter.
And every other race comprised of people aware of the scheme to destroy America through disunity?
He marched through a brunch and disrupted it. No justice, no quiche.
No justice, no quiche. Hashtag white people be tripping.
We saw little white children crying and we'd say, Don't be afraid. We're just trying to... It was very hard. An old Jewish lady on that side. But it was important.
Stand up. Speak up. Stand with me against those trying to crown deceptive political correctness the victor.
The Hebrew word for pay attention is sim lev. S-I-M-L-E-V. And it means put your heart somewhere.
Stop killing us. Hashtag fuck the police.
I was not mispopularity for doing this. I was dragged through the mud. And Jewish people were scared. They'd say, you're out there making us vulnerable. But I didn't have a choice. And then they'd say under their breath, I'm so glad you're out there. Well, where are you?
Hashtag white silence.
No.
Singing at dead of night. For your life. Bet your life been for you. Baby, sing it in dead of night. Take these on my hands and just
Carlton Turner. Personal transformation is the root of community change. But the big difference for me is whether you're making the decision out of a place of fear or love.
How do you love those people who acknowledge racism but don't do anything about it?
Well, I love them because I love myself. I can see those contradictions that they're working through in myself. And I'm still working through those issues. I'm still doing things today that foster white supremacy. But change is incremental, and if you can gain ground, then you hold that ground.
What do you do for self-care and healing?
The most important thing for me is family. I'll go home for an hour, see my sons and daughter, and say, see you later. My wife knows I'm going to see my mother and sit with her for an hour. It's part of that reconnecting with the spirit. My source, you get this ancestral legacy that just pulls through.
Blackbird singing in the dead of night. For your life.
Explain something to me. So, how can a black man do things that foster white supremacy?
Oh, that's such a good question. Okay, well, it has to do with the fact that we live in a society where white is the default, so we... Hold on. Is that cop following us?
Huh? What cop?
That cop, like 4 cars back. He's been there for the past 3 turns.
This is a major thoroughfare. I highly doubt he's following us.
Okay, well, either way, just slow down and make sure to use your turn signals.
I'm not speeding, Amani, and I always use my turn signals.
No, you don't.
I don't use them like you, but you turn them on constantly.
After Sandra Bland, I'm not taking any chances, so will you please just slow down?
Fine. God, you're paranoid.
See?
God.
I told you! I told you!
All right, relax and let me handle this.
License and registration. You too, we gotta see ID from both
Why
of
do you
you.
need her ID? I'm the driver.
Sir, keep your questions to yourself.
It's no problem, officer. 1 second. There you go.
Hands where I can see them.
Can you tell me why you pulled us over?
So how do you two know each other?
We're co-workers.
Uh-huh. Don't see a lot of co-workers looking like you two around here. We got a call about a man picking up a prostitute and you two fit the description.
Excuse me? Our network attorneys will have your jobs for this. Do you realize who we are? We are the press!
I need backup at Florissant and Powell. Florissant and Powell.
I apologize for my coworker's outburst, but as you can see from our licenses, I am Amani Duncan Ward, and this...
Hands where I can see them.
This is Brad O'Connor. We are the co-hosts of Battleground, and we've been here for the past few months covering the story.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't mind, may I reach into my bag and give you my business card?
You may. Slowly.
They're clear. We gotta get back to the station.
You're lucky I'm letting you off with a warning. Stay out of trouble. I don't want to see you two around here again.
I'm sorry, but I mean, can you believe that? They pull us over and accuse us.
It's okay! I mean, it's not okay, but I understand.
So that's what it's like.
Yeah. That's why we have to talk, because it's a never-ending fear of being harassed or being pulled over or being arrested or being shot. And that one wasn't even that bad.
Not even bad?
Yeah, welcome to my world. And the next time you have a black person in your car, you need to think about the way you drive. You need to think about the way you act, and you need to think before you speak. And realize that we don't live by the same rules as you.
I understand, and I'm sorry.
Reverend Starsky Wilson. So my boys will grow up with a consciousness of all this. My 8-year-old said, Daddy, every time I hear about Mike Brown, my stomach starts to hurt. You have permission to remind me that, and that any time someone's speaking about Mike Brown, you have permission to leave the room. And if Daddy's speaking about it, or if it comes up on the radio, remind me to turn the radio off.
But what do you say to other clergy who believe that the work of Black Lives Matter is not the work of Jesus?
Critical aspects of the character Jesus. Number 1, Jesus was a Jew. Number 2, a poor Jew. Number 3, a poor Jew who grew up under Roman occupation. When we think about the minority status of Jesus, the economic status you find him in, that he lived under Roman occupation, we can map a context that, quite frankly, looks a lot like Mike Brown growing up in Ferguson. It's quite contemporary, right? Military occupation. The presence of police in urban neighborhoods who do not live in those neighborhoods, who get paid to police people. They check in at the beginning of the day and then leave those neighborhoods with no relationship to the people. That sounds like occupation to me. To speak of Jesus critically, to speak of Jesus in a real way, you have to begin with those circumstances. So part of what I suggest is that people need to preach Jesus.
How do you maintain faith in a system that seems... How do you find hope in the world?
We are a Christian church. We follow the mission of Jesus of Nazareth. What we recognize in the Hebrew tradition is that God was made present in community. We find it in community. God is present in Opal and Patrice and Alicia and the BLM network. In this neighborhood, Kayla Reed. That's where I find God. There's this t-shirt says, "Found God." She's black. That's right. Kayla Reed is God. And I see God here present in these gathered communities.
Reverend Wilson, last question. What does Mike Brown still mean?
As we say in the streets, Mike Brown means we need to fight back.
children. I don't want nobody fucking with me in these streets. I don't want nobody fucking with me in these streets. Cause ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Healing was a very central part to what went on. The Black Lives Matter Healing Justice Delegation came to St. Louis, and I was a part of that. Props to Starsky Wilson. Thanks to him for allowing every kind of person, traditional healer, non-traditional healer, medical professional, trans people. We had everybody in that church working on and with healing. And healing has to do with listening to people and being grounded. Feet in the earth, hands on the earth, laying on the earth. Healing that happens in the moment. Healing that happens backwards and forwards. I was saying to my friend the other day, I said, I wonder how many of us haven't been able to conceive post-2014. Like those of us on the front lines, all those problems with conceiving, miscarriages, cancer. Because women, we hold our stress and our anxiety here. It's responsible for our creative energy, our life force. So I think there is some genetic coding happening there saying this is not safe for us. So we gotta shut it down for a little while. Until we can have a proper acknowledgement and atonement for what went on. Until you can name a thing, it never resolves.
Scott Bonner. I started the job at the Ferguson Library in July 2014. Mike Brown was killed on August 9th.
And did people use the library as a safe place?
We saw lots of people visiting either to protest or from the media. We were busy. We offered water, restrooms, a place to recharge, and also computer access for information. They did what libraries do. Support communities by being there for everyone in the community.
Well, why did you do all of that? It's not in your job description.
It was part of our mission. I wasn't hiding what I was doing. We were very open. The only thing that got serious pushback was the Black Art Galleries of St. Louis. They came to me in August to do an art show. It was going to be the artists responding to the events in Ferguson, which I knew was going to be a potential problem because art is not neutral. But cultural literacy includes supporting local art, showing art, and anything that makes us think more deeply is good in the end. And then came the title of the whole art show, Hands Up, Don't Shoot. Outside of Ferguson, this is the super obvious choice, the name of the whole movement. But inside Ferguson, those 4 words are provocative. So when they went and named the whole thing, Hands Up, Don't Shoot, I got calls from prominent people saying, how dare you be anti-police and undermine the city? How dare you do this? And I said, here's what we know. It's not where you're fearing it'll be. Wait till there's art on the wall, and then come at me. And on the day of the show, the pieces went up, and they were all interesting and complex and deep, and they did show different points of view. And a lot of the people, one of the most vocal critics came to me at the end of the opening ceremony and said, wasn't so bad. That's where I got criticized. Everything else has gone really well. Some people may be quietly angry at us, but only blowbacks for the art show.
Hey, Scooby! What's up?
Anthony Randall. I got pulled over by a police officer going south on Kings Highway. And he said he pulled me over for a red light that I ran. It was 11:34 in the morning, a.m. I'm sitting in my car, Dr. Jew. He was taking a long time. And I know I didn't run that red light, but that's besides the point. The point is that he gave me 3 tickets. And he tried to tell me what they were for, and I said, "Thank you, sir." And he walked back to his car. And as I start to drive away, I look at the tickets. 1 was for running the red light. I said, okay. The second said the license didn't belong to the car. I'll fight this in court. Well, but there was a 3rd ticket. It was for not registering the car. So then I see the cop that just pulled me over. So my curious mind, I pull up behind him, I walk up and I yell, "I want to know why you gave me this 3rd ticket." And he immediately started calling for backup. So I said, "Never mind, we'll handle it in court." And as I walked back to my car, he said, "You're under arrest." And as I turn the engine on and I'm about to drive away, I say, "Good day, sir." And he opens my car door. So I'm trying to close it, and he reaches in my window because my window was down, and he punches me in the face. So now we're tussling. I'm wrestling him to get him out of my car, and I rip his collar. So now he's having a bad day. So I go to put the tickets down. He said I was reaching for something. He pulled out his gun and he shot me in the stomach. But they saw the witnesses. They saw everything that happened. But he still shot me. I don't know the reason why. They tried to press charges, but eventually dropped the charges. They didn't want to press charges because they didn't want it to be another Mike Brown thing. They won't give me any more medication at the moment. For the past 2 weeks, I've been in excruciating pain. It's been a roller coaster. I've only cried once. You never know what could happen or when it could happen. I only cried because I knew I had a lot of people that were there for me. I felt the love.
He did so many things you're told not to do as a black person, or else you'll get shot. Like, talk back to the cops, approach the police car, have an attitude. Part of me thinks, why did you do those things? Of course you got shot. And the other part of me thinks you have a right to do those things because you're a human being.
I don't know if he had the right to do those things, but I've certainly talked back to a police officer and had an attitude.
It shocked me. Part of me doesn't think that he's totally blameless, but part of me says, what did he actually do wrong? He didn't do anything wrong. He crossed the black code.
That's ultimately what he did wrong.
He should have just stayed in his place.
But here's the thing for me. I would never approach the police car. That's not to say he was wrong, or it was illegal, or he shouldn't have done it.
Or he deserved to be shot.
But that part of the story, it just makes me think that maybe...
It's very complicated.
It is. It's very complicated.
We'd like to close out our time here in Ferguson with a few final thoughts. Brad?
I think that America is broken. But we're not broken beyond repair. And it's my job to tell the truth as I see it. I made a promise when I started this work to stand with whoever stands for what's right and part with him when he's wrong. There were things that happened in Ferguson that were wrong. And I think we can all agree that the system is not working the way it is. We're being torn apart at the seams. And we have a question. Will we give into the rage and harden our hearts to those who don't think like us? Or will we listen and look for ways to move forward? Now I know I don't have all the answers. But what I do know is that this country works at its greatest when we work together. And that starts with you. It starts with me.
Thank you, Brad. And Amani?
I am trying to leave this place with hope. And I now know that the work of healing racial trauma is real. The atrocities of this country are so old and deeply rooted that they will rob you of your sanity if you give them your full attention. I now know that all of my focus cannot be put towards dismantling systems that I have no control over. Yes, that work is important, but it's also important for me to focus on building. What am I creating? Mike Brown's story does not end on CanField Drive. Mike's story continues on and challenges all of us to imagine the impossible.
I'd like to thank you all for joining us here tonight on Battleground, and we hope that you continue these tough conversations with your friends and family. God bless you, and good night.
Life keeps getting harder. I feel myself getting